I get all the rock boys. I get all the rock boys. Welcome back to another Easy Mind reaction, guys. Today we are reacting from the channel, same channel as the last video, I believe. Aperture. I I really believe I'm pronouncing it right. But anyway, let me make this full screen. Title of this video: TikTok is causing a mass psychosis. Now I don't know exactly. Actually, maybe we could read the description. Maybe there's something in the description. The playlist and event. No, nothing in the description. Nothing at all. Wait, no. Here we go. In June 2019, Kirsten Mueller-Vahl, a psychiatrist at Hanover Medical School and the head of its Tourette's outpatient department, noticed unusual symptoms in her new set of patients. To begin with, all of them were teenagers and were suffering from sudden and uncontrollable tics. Even though none of them had any history of the condition, they were all shouting different kinds of obscenities. Not really where I thought this video was gonna go, but it's going there. So, without further ado, I say let's get right into the video. Let's grow.
In June 2019,
Wait, I need my captions, man. What be happening to the captions?
in June 2019, Kirsten Mueller-Vahl, a psychiatrist at Hanover Medical School and head of its Tourette's outpatient department, noticed unusual symptoms in her new set of patients. To begin with, all of them were teenagers, and they were suffering from sudden and uncontrollable tics. Even though none of them had any history of the condition, they were all shouting different kinds of obscenities. Mueller-Vahl consulted her tight-knit group of global Tourette researchers and found out that her newest patients were not unique. It seemed that a shift in patients and symptoms was happening all over the world, and what was even more surprising was that it was happening at the same time. But what really puzzled Mueller-Vahl was that most were repeatedly shouting the same phrase: "You are ugly." As it turned out, this phrase was the key to understanding this strange spike in cases. 4 months before the mysterious global outbreak, a 20-year-old German suffering from Tourette's named Jim Zimmerman launched a YouTube channel and a TikTok page detailing what it's like to live with his condition. He immediately became a social media sensation, gathering more than 2 million subscribers on YouTube and millions of views on TikTok, where he shows his viewers how his condition can force him to blurt obscene words or
I seen something like this on TikTok, but it was a girl who would answer the questions that were left in comments, but she, let me not say, because I was gonna say suffer, but I don't. It's not really suffering, but she was diagnosed with Tourette's. That was the thing. That's the way I'm gonna say it. But yeah, I forgot her name. I wish I knew her name. If I find the TikTok accidentally before I upload this video, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description. But if I don't, I don't. Anyway, let me take it back a little bit.
Views on TikTok, where he shows his viewers how his condition can force him to blurt obscene words or experience uncontrollable tics and convulsions. Zimmerman had the tendency to blurt out the phrase, "You are ugly," one that he shared with all new style patients suddenly appearing all over the world.
Oh, wow.
After making this connection, researchers found that all the patients who suddenly claimed to have tics were also fans of Zimmerman. When Mueller-Vahl confronted her distressed patients and told them that none of them actually had Tourette's, most of them recovered immediately. But despite their recoveries, this case presented researchers with an unprecedented psychological mystery, showing how imagined symptoms can spread purely from TikTok videos.
That's crazy. So they were just, what does that have to do with, like, how are you, like, acting in such a way with a person who would have Tourette's, act, but you don't really have Tourette's? That's wild. Sometimes that I see a lot of things that happen online, and I question. Like, I was at this party one time. I don't know if you'd call it a party, but anyway, there was this individual who was acting in such a way as if they were drunk, but they weren't really drunk. But at least to me, they didn't seem like they were drunk. But I think, how you're around people who are acting in such a way, and then you kind of just imitate them in a sense. Like, if you're around a whole bunch of drunk people, you're not so much, even if you're not drunk and you're around a bunch of drunk people, you still have this tendency, this proclivity to act in a similar manner as the people in which you are surrounded by. seem to be acting in that moment. So I think it's rather interesting. I don't know the reason, the science behind it, but hey man, maybe they'll dive into it.
While these teenagers didn't suffer from Zimmerman's condition, something triggered their minds to believe that they did, and all of a sudden, all of them simultaneously and independently developed these TikTok tics.
That's crazy.
With TikTok becoming one of the most used social media apps today, it's becoming even more important to consider. Could TikTok be causing a mass psychosis?
I think
Before
so.
you answer that, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor for today's video, Masterworks. For all the progress the human race has made on this planet, we think we know about the future. First, like JP Morgan CEO Jamie Stanley reports that the logic is that art's advancements of the last 20 years might sink, and then they sold a painting for a 17 point getting started.
This is crazy.
Link in the description. You'll not only be furthering yourself, but you'll be helping Aperture at the same time.
What's up with that?
Masterworks offerings are filed with the SEC. To view all past and current offerings, click on the SEC link in the description.
This guy's still going.
Mass psychogenic illness, or MPI, also known as mass sociogenic illness, is a real occurrence where a group of people starts feeling real physical symptoms at the same time, even though there's no physical or environmental reason for them to be sick. The dancing plagues of the Middle Ages were probably the most bizarre form of MPI. In July 1518, residents of the city Strasbourg were struck by an uncontrollable urge to dance.
Wait, what?
It started with one woman stepping into the street and dancing for nearly a week before she was joined by 36 others who also seemed to have the same uncontrollable urge. The town then hired musicians to provide backing music, which only worsened the situation as more people joined in. It wasn't long before the marathon started to take its toll. By August, the dancing plague had 400 people in its clutches, with 100 of them dancing themselves to death.
You know, this is interesting. I had no idea or any belief that this video was going to take this route, but it's funny that it is, because I was discussing this idea with myself, and I was planning to turn it into a journal entry. But the idea of trend versus truth, and I think that's something like a lot of things are memeified nowadays, you know, turn into, like, you could take something that's like the idea around a concept might be very scientific, or you know, very important in a sense for the advancement of humankind, but then, you know, you take that idea, you present it to social media, you present it to TikTok, Instagram, whatever, and then it's kind of diluted in a sense, or it's just the, I don't want to say purity, but the importantness of the idea is extracted, and then you're left with this meme, this something that's, I don't know, it is, I don't know how to describe it, but it was just the whole idea of when you have, how do I want to put it? Like, say for instance, for me, if I wanted to discuss a philosophy of some sort or some doctrine I was studying, and I presented it to the masses, and then instead of it, you know, being something to be studied about and talked about and have great conversation about, or intellectual conversation about, it's then taken and then turned into a meme of some sort, in which people are then hopping on, not so to advance self or to, you know, progress on the, how do I want to say it, progress on the path of self actualization or whatever, but it's turned to this comical thing in a sense, or this thing that's really not that point. Which I understand the whole uprising. You know, this it's not a new perspective, but it's a perspective that's gained more followers. The idea of, you know, it's nihilistic view on life, which I share to an extent, but I have ways of uh, 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 I don't want to say coping, but ways of which I deal with it or think about it. But this nihilistic or absurdist viewpoint, and everything, you know, is meaningless, and, you know, they're just to do whatever. And I guess that's where the whole memeified culture is coming from. But it's rather interesting, you know, from the whole idea of what this explaining through the Tourette's, and then also the concept I was looking to develop about trend versus truth, and I guess the tension that it could be found between the two, or the friction that's arising between the two. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with in this, but it's interesting. I want to think more on it. But let me take it back.
It wasn't long before the marathon started to take its toll. By August, the dancing plague had 400 people in its clutches, with 100 of them dancing themselves to death.
That's crazy.
More recent but less dramatic cases include a boarding school in Mexico, where a student developed leg pain and paralysis. Soon after, hundreds of their schoolmates began experiencing the same symptoms. In East Africa, 3 girls who started laughing uncontrollably managed to infect over 100 other students, forcing their school to close down.
It's almost like
The
yawning.
triggers for mass psychogenic illnesses cannot be entirely isolated, but they can easily spread among people who share the same anxieties, fears, and sense of community. This is what makes the TikTok tics an even more intriguing study. TikTok rapidly gained popularity during the pandemic as a trendy dance video and crazy challenge app. But since then, it has established itself as the world's most popular app, with nearly 3 times as many users as Twitter. A recent study even found that it has dethroned Google as the most popular domain in 2021, with most of its visitors using the app as a primary search and discovery platform. With over 1 billion active monthly users who spend an average of 95 minutes a day using the app, it has become more important than ever to understand what kind of effects TikTok has on our brains. While the effects of social media on our mental state have been a topic of debate for the past decade, the emergence of TikTok is different. It allows users to watch an unlimited stream of new content, observe trends rise and fall daily, and find something new with each swipe. Because the videos are often extremely short, the user can quickly decide whether to continue watching or move on to something more interesting. This constant stream of information can narrow and exhaust our attention span over time, limit our concentration, and affect our short-term memory. TikTok
don't know what you're supposed to do, and somehow it all just comes together. And then you don't know why you wouldn't have known it in the first place.
TikTok places a constant focus for content to be delivered in 60 seconds or less, making anything longer feel like it's a waste of our time. Some users have reported that they don't even have the patience to watch 10-minute videos on YouTube anymore, even when the topic interests them.
See, that's something I think that needs to be talked about, considered. It's just like I don't think people are, or a general population looks to be consciously aware of their actions or their thought process or what they're doing on a day-to-day, second-to-second basis. And that was something I wrote about recently. I posted it on Instagram and TikTok. It was a little not Instagram and TikTok, on Instagram and Snap. But it was just like, me personally, I have the idea, I have Houston, and then I have Houston perceived. And a lot of time I spend a lot of my time in the realm of Houston perceived. And so the things in which I do, and I was put a list. I was like talents, mannerism, faults, uh, reactions, and all that which can be thought of or perceived and from other people as Houston. I take that same perspective, and it's almost like there's a second me, like it's been split into two. And I think another person related to them doing the same thing. And I feel it's my personal belief that if people were just more conscious of what they were doing from time to time, and they took, see, it's not even about because for me, it's not like I do it because I think it's the best thing to do or I think it's beneficial. It kind of got to a point where it's just a natural habit. There's other there's thoughts about acting in such a way or thinking in such a way as it being a mental problem. Having, I don't think me personally, it's not like I have split personalities or whatnot. It's just that, how do I say? Oh, there was a guy that referred to it as like diluted schizophrenia or whatever, but it's just the idea that there's you in which that has this autopilot, auto how do you pronounce it? Autonomous. This autopilot you that's going about and doing things, on a day-to-day action. But then there's a second you that looks at everything which that autonomous you is doing, and it just kind of gives feedback. And look, there's a whole lot that can be said. I just think that if one person pays enough attention to themselves, it would make for better decision making. And being on TikTok for like 95 minutes out the day, or however long you're on it, it's not a bad thing per se. But I think it becomes detrimental to the individual once they lose track of themselves, once they start to disregard their existence. And I think that's where the line should be drawn. Like, you could do whatever you want to do, but as you're doing it, be aware that you're doing it. Have conscious understanding that what you're doing has this kind of effect on you, or that kind of effect on the other person, or just be aware of context. I think that's the best way to put it. Let me take it back.
Some users have reported that they don't even have the patience to watch 10-minute videos on YouTube anymore, even when the topic interests them.
That's crazy.
This reduction in our attention spans can come from a variety of risk factors, such as poor academic performance, communication struggles, social isolation, relationship difficulties, stress, and anxiety. A recent study conducted by Curtin University in Australia has shown that the heavy use of social media can lead to problematic mental health consequences, especially for people with lower attention spans. Which brings us back to the TikTok tics. This curious Tourette's case was the first form of social media-induced sociogenic illness. In addition to the teenagers in Germany, about 50 patients across the globe presented the same symptoms, which demonstrates the domino effect of our social media landscape. Constant exposure can lead to low attention spans in those that never had the issue before, which can lead to psychological illnesses, which can, in turn, spread imagined conditions around the world, in a way that we never even dreamt of before the age of the internet. According to TikTok, videos tagged with the hashtag Tourette's have been viewed more than 5 billion times.
Sheesh.
The unexpected appeal of these videos among teenagers can be attributed to a need to stand out or be different.
Right.
But the truth is, videos like these also provide a sense of community, acceptance, sympathy, and validation, which all seem to be present in patients suffering from MPI. Even though Zimmerman's intentions were to show his followers what it's like living with Tourette's, it also validated violating social conventions and gave proof to young, impressionable viewers that the more disruptive you are, the more viral you'll go. This is the basic concept behind TikTok. The whole idea is to promote videos that can go viral in an instant and push young content creators to produce similar content. That's why the first thing you see when you open the app is the For You page, where short videos that are carefully selected to grab your attention are displayed. It's why the video's on autoplay and shown in an endless scroll, and there's no signalization of progress or duration of the experience. All these features are intentionally designed to grab and keep the attention of young users for as long as possible, and urge them to create similar content if they want to get that attention for themselves. In a recent interview, comedian Andrew Schulz talked about how TikTok's algorithm promotes useless content in the West, but shows entirely different content centered around innovation, architecture, and science in China.
Wow.
Like Schulz, many argue that TikTok is intentionally making people dumb by manipulating user behavior and pushing mindless content on its impressionable young viewers. To that point, TikTok trends have included things like the blackout challenge, where children were tasked with holding their breath until they fainted, the penny challenge, encouraging kids to push pennies behind partially plugged phone chargers, which could have dangerous results, and the tooth file challenge, where young users were causing permanent damage to their teeth just for some of that desired attention. The more these videos went viral, the more content creators saw it as an opportunity to gain traction on the platform.
I want to say this. This platform that I have, or that I'm looking to grow, it's come to my attention, this understanding that I've developed, that there's not much you can really say to an adult to kind of change their view or perspective on life, because you can't strip them of their experience, and you can only look to show a better perspective of one's experience if they already went ahead and told you about their experience. And so, like, it's not likely that you'll get the chance to change the thinking for better of adults, people who are, I guess I want to say, 18 above or whatever, to have pretty close to having their brain fully developed, or past that age. So with all that being said, this platform which I'm growing, I'm really focusing and paying attention to the youth, children of younger age than me. I wanna create a community or create a place on social media where the idea of self betterment, self exploration within the confines of being respective to oneself and others. And I don't know, I just have this idea, because like I just said, I don't want to reiterate, but my focus isn't really on adults trying to spread information to adults because no. But although that's not my focus, is not to say that that can't happen. So if it does, the more the merrier. The younger the or older they are, it doesn't really matter. But for my focus is really looking to appeal to the youth and I don't want to say promote myself, but look to be a source of homage, I guess. I don't know how to really phrase, but hopefully you get the idea. Hopefully you catch the drift. I just want to create a community, a place where you don't have to follow trends. You don't have to look to fit in, or you don't have to look to act in a specific way, live or be in a specific way. I think this platform is very much about learning to understand oneself, I say looking to understand oneself, and looking to branch out into the world and find something that relates to the core of you, because a lot of times we're in areas or we're in environments that are very constricted and don't allow us to, or we're not exposed to as much as we can be exposed to. And I think this platform I'm looking to grow, I want to be a source that can almost be a portal in a sense where you can sit down, watch, you can interact with the platform, the channel, whether on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. And there's a whole bunch of ideas. There's a whole bunch of different philosophy and doctrines, and you can sit there and really extend, really reach out into the world and find what relates to you as an individual. So you're not out there, copying people just because they're close in proximity to you, and everyone's doing it in your town or everyone's doing it in your household and your family, and you feel like you have to take part in it. But there's a world beyond the walls in which you feel exists, because truly, especially nowadays, in the day we're in the days we're in, there really is no wall. We can extend as far out as we wish to. We can learn about anything we wish to learn about, take interest into whatever we wish to take interest into, and we could really take care of ourselves. Do whatever we feel would make us happy as individuals. Learn whatever what would give us peace of mind, serenity, and make us feel good about ourselves. We can look for that which fulfills us as individuals. And I think that's what the whole idea of this platform, what I'm looking to do on this, especially on this channel, with all that I upload on this channel. But yeah, a little touchy moment, I guess. Let's get back to the video.
Fired attention. The more these videos went viral, the more content creators saw it as an opportunity to gain traction on the platform. This in itself feeds the vicious cycle of harmful content that leads to illnesses similar to the TikTok tics and other mental disorders. Today, TikTok is being looked at in a number of US states to determine its influence on its young users' mental health. According to Dr. David Barnhart, clinical mental health counselor at Behavioral Sciences of Alabama, all social media platforms impact how a person views themselves, but because of TikTok's rapid-fire influx of content, users are exposed to dozens of videos within minutes, which makes the effect much more devastating than other platforms. Users can easily become addicted to the app and may seek constant stimulation as a result. This constant stimulation increases stress and anxiety levels, especially with numerous videos that fuel body dissatisfaction, appearance-related anxiety, and much more. Mental health professionals have reported seeing a number of younger patients who spend considerable time on TikTok, claiming to have severe mental health conditions such as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And the main issue with such claims is that more exposure to targeted content can influence teenagers to misdiagnose themselves with a mental illness without consulting a professional, only because they can relate to some of the symptoms of a TikTok influencer they follow.
Right.
Just like the TikTok tics case, young adults who self-diagnose can also do so from a desire to feel like they're part of a community, or to rebel against social constructs, and in the process, they can genuinely believe that they suffer from a specific illness, even when they don't. The flip side to all of this is that there are several positives that can come from highlighting mental health issues online. The sense of community, which can be harmful in some cases, can also be helpful in normalizing these conditions and sending the message that people aren't alone. Young people suffering from their own issues can come together and support each other with helpful tips on how to deal with depression, anxiety, and other hurdles in their daily life. Videos discussing mental health get millions of views on TikTok every day and draw people to symptoms that some people may not have realized were an issue. This can spur people into action and encourage them to seek help. As with all things, there are positives and negatives, which is why experts don't believe that deleting TikTok is the answer. Instead, regulating and monitoring the time spent on the app is key. Otherwise, the social media-fueled mental health crisis is only going to get worse. The age of the internet has definitely brought out a whole new dimension of concerns that we should worry about. But TikTok itself has changed the online world. It's a cultural phenomenon with a superior algorithm that is unmatched by its social media rivals. It's built to ruthlessly and aggressively collect your data, and constantly feed you content that's for you. Content that could change the direction of your life, warp your perceptions of the world around you, and even cause mass psychogenic illnesses worldwide. MPIs have existed for hundreds of years, and yet a lot of the reasons why they happen remain a mystery. But what we can learn from the TikTok tics case is that we're now entering a new era of social media-induced sociogenic psychosis, and apps like TikTok have more control and power over our youth than we thought. The best predictor of future behavior is previous behavior, and based on what we already know, we've most likely not seen the last of social media-induced psychological illnesses. For now, at least you had the patience to watch this entire video. Thanks for not swiping to check out the latest escalator dance clips or watch a guy deep cleaning a horse's hoof.
I think, yeah, that's it. Phenomenal video. Wow. You know, I didn't even know this was a thing. So this was very informative. But yeah, man, I think it's important to take breaks from social media. Even me as a person who's looking to grow on these different platforms on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, I still make sure, like even recently on my last channel, I had the series shower therapy, and one of it was talking about social media, and I was talking about how I took I think it was a 1 month hiatus from social media, and I think doing that is important to combat it in some way, because you know too much of anything uh, it can be detrimental. And so, like me personally, I felt like social media was dragging me down. You know, it was bogging me mentally, or not specifically social media, or well, not solely social media, but there was still an aspect in which taking a step back, taking time away, did help to benefit my mental well-being and emotional well-being, and I felt like I was being brought back to a place where I was feeling much more enthusiastic about the day or about the task ahead. And so I think it's important to take a break from social media, and I encourage those watching to also do the same. Uh, and you know, one thing about breaking a habit, a lot of people try to do it all at once, but I don't think that's the way to go about it. You know, if you could if you set a goal, you know, a goal to kind of rewind or lessen the amount of time you spend on social media, at first do so. I would suggest do so by setting the goal small. You know, maybe for a week you stay away from social media, or maybe for a whole day you say no social media for the day. And you know, you set that for every Wednesday or every Thursday. and then you grow more and more, and then you find your sweet spot to where you realize being on social media for this amount of time is beneficial than being on it for that amount of time. And then you might need to, stretch it forward, maybe you take a break for a month and then you realize you're out the loop about certain things, and it's actually a detriment to your living conditions, as maybe that's where you get your news, that's where you get your information. And then you realize, okay, a month might be too long, maybe I need to scale it back to 2 weeks. And you just play around with it for a while until you find, like I said, that sweet spot to where you're not on social media to the point where it's detrimental because you're on it too much, but you don't take too much time away where you're out of the loop, and you really don't know what's going on in the world. Because social media, like it was explaining in the video near the end, there's both pros and cons, negative and positive, to any entity, to any idea, any concept. There's different ways in which you, as an individual, you have to define for yourself as the individual, really set that mark, because everybody's different. There's no direct or exact way to go about doing things. And so yeah, great video. All in all, great video. Shout out to Aperture. I pronouncing it wrong again, Aperture. But yeah, we're at the end of the video. So leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Do all those lovely things for me, why don't you? But if you are not going to do any of the above, what am I saying? If you're not going to do any of that, please do leave a comment. I would like to have a conversation with you. Good day.